And also,
Lisa.
just because I'm cooler than you are, Dana, doesn't mean that you're in the real Arizona.
I'm in the Arizona with the cowboys and the cactus and the heat.
Ah, okay.
You what? I probably have more cactus than you do.
Oh, that's funny. Lisa, I really liked your webpage.
Oh,
That
thank
was
you.
really great. You've got so many resources there for readers. They would just, it's a reader's paradise. That's great.
Well, I started because I started as a book group, not as an author, and
Uh-huh.
so that's how that appears there. And I've had a reading group for the last 8 years, and we've read 54 biblical novels. So
Wow.
yeah, so it just keeps on growing the more that we learn about other authors like yourselves. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I definitely will delve into that. And so that's very exciting. And the Daughters of Abraham, I think, also has been a very popular spot for people. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe we could talk a little bit about that too. Just
Sure.
those two things. I know for myself, I really like book clubs. And I'm trying to think, there's been maybe only three or four that I've been, the book that they read. And each time I just loved it. They ask you questions. Individual readers will ask you questions that do have spoilers. But the nice thing is they've all read it. And so you're not spoiling it for them.
Right.
And it's kind of fun to just discuss. They're like, why did you do this? And I go, well, because, and then at the end, didn't you kind of feel like that was the way it should have gone? And they went, yeah, but I didn't like reading it.
Uh,
Sorry.
yeah.
Had to happen. Had to happen.
Well, I think my book group really likes it because even where we meet and we have questions. And if the author hasn't created the questions, I create the questions.
Hmm.
So I have that also on my website. And then afterwards, we have coffee. And it's in a different room. So everybody knows we're going to have a discussion because I've been to book groups before where we don't even talk about the book. And I'm like, okay. And so I really,
Yeah.
so I think that's important to make sure that there we
Hi,
go.
Jimmy. There we
Hey,
go.
Welcome, Dimmy.
you're so sweet. I'm like getting ready for family night of Vacation Bible School. So I'm representing Team Purple and
Oh,
I'm ready to get wet. It's going to be our wet party night tonight.
I love it.
Yeah.
So
I'm
hey,
a
I'm
little,
glad you're here.
I'm a little more casual today too, just because I've been like you, busy, not with Bible school, but just with one thing after another. And there'd been like 3 days where I had no chance to get my regular exercise in. And then I had a real bad backache. So I'm like, okay, today I've got to get on the treadmill. So I'm in my walking clothes
I love it. I
instead of
love
my
it.
little professional shirt or something.
Demi, I'm so glad you're here. You're always so faithful at coming. We're so glad that you're here. If you're joining us on the live or in the replay, welcome to Biblical Fiction Aficionados. We're so excited to have Lisa Larsen Hill here to talk about Daughters of the Wilderness, her debut biblical fiction. So we're excited for that. And before we get into that, excuse me. Before we get into that, Dana, do you want to tell us what you're working on right now? Or we
Well, yes, I'll tell you real quickly that I have sort of stepped away from my book a little bit in that I'm still doing some research and I'm still making notes on the middle part, but I have kind of set it aside mainly because we went on vacation. We went to the Ark Museum in Kentucky, and then the creation or the Ark Encounter and the Creation Museum. Both were so fantastic, so uplifting and inspiring. They gave you so many proofs of the reality of God, the truth of the Bible, in the creation account and in the flood account, and just over time how history has proved the Bible to be true in those instances. And it just was extremely inspiring. That ark is huge. It's like 2 football fields long, half a
Wow.
football field wide, 10 stories tall, but it had 3 levels. And you go inside and you walk around and you see all these places where it's built out like an animal enclosure, and they have animals inside, not live ones but
Oh,
models.
that's a bummer.
Yeah, it's sort of like a Disney, like any of those Disney exhibits where you go in through and you ride the boat around or whatever and you see moving things. It's like that, except for you're walking through, and they have these big signs on the wall that tell the creation account and the flood account, and there's thunder, and
Oh,
it's
how cool.
amazing. Yeah, and people are just reading it, and 30,000 people a year come to faith after seeing these exhibits. It's
Wow.
just astounding. So if you ever get a chance to go, you should go. If not, you should try to listen to Ken Ham give some of his talks on YouTube. He's a wonderful speaker and just really fun to listen to. So that's what I've been doing lately.
Do you feel like it helped? I mean, I know you're writing New Testament right now, but did it help get your
I'm gonna
brain
write
jump
I'm gonna
started
write a
again?
flood story. Yeah,
Oh,
there's gonna be a flood story, and maybe also a Eve story. So
Wow.
yeah, I really was inspired, and I came home
good.
with some books. They have wonderful resources, and so it was. And my husband, he saw me kind of admiring a couple of big giraffes in the gift shop, big stuffed giraffes like that tall, and he bought them and had them shipped home without my
Aw,
knowledge, and now they're sitting in my living room. It's hilarious. I'll have to share it on my Facebook account. You
yeah,
take a look. It's really cute. So that's my
that's
story.
interesting. I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. Isn't that a fun cover? That's so pretty with the orange and the sisters all in there too. That's
Thank
a.
Yeah.
you. Thank you. Thank you.
Did you design it, Lisa?
I designed it with a collaborator. So
Okay.
we went through about 5 different iterations because I didn't know whether I wanted to have one. A lot of biblical novels have one person, and this is really a story about the sisters. So I thought that they had to have 5, which is hard to do, in
Oh,
a
yeah.
biblical situation,
Yeah.
and you have to put the setting to it. So yeah, I had it with a tented meeting. I had a couple of different things, and then we finally the sun coming in, and there's something on the cover that is hidden, and I'm just going to see if people can find it. And it's referred to in the story, and just if people notice one thing that is, I'm not going to say what it is. I'm going to see whether people can understand, but it is something that is important in the story. Yeah.
I like it. I think I see it.
Yeah, I think I might too. And it's something I really enjoyed in the story when you wrote about it.
Cool. That's great. Thank you. I'm glad to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, intriguing. Have you read it yet, Demi? You need to read it. It's a real good one. Somebody was asking not too long ago, and I'm trying to remember who that was, about the daughters of Zelophehad and if there was anything. So actually, this is the second rendition I've read. Actually, there was Barbara Britton has written
Yes.
Right.
3 series of them. So I've read 2 of those, and it's really fun to see. I love, that's what we love about biblical fiction. It's like the same Bible lesson, Bible passage, but it's so differently interpreted. I love it.
Very different. Very different. Yeah.
You're
So
holding up Shira.
Yeah, I just republished finally. Shira, and been, I don't know, for some reason that one was so much easier, but then I got to formatting of Rahab, I got my rights back. And so formatting of Rahab's Courage has been like, it's been a long project, and I think I'm on a good track now. So I'm really thankful for that, but it's hard work. There's a lot of stuff that goes in, especially if you're doing it all on your own with the marketing and the book cover design and all that. So yay, she's such a lady boss, isn't she? She's such a
I like Shira, and there was such interesting information about building in that. I loved all the ancient methods and tools that you kind of put in there and made them sound like modern ways of doing things. But I'm interested because it looks like the same cover.
Yes.
Are you doing the same cover?
Yes.
Because I love that cover.
I was able to get my covers as I bought the rights back. I'm really thankful for that because I love that one. This one was Lynette Bonner, and the other two were Rosanna White. And I just love my covers, so I'm so thankful for that. It does have a polish, and then this one we kind of did a little bit of fixes on like a personality trait. So, but yeah, it was a lot of fun.
So a little bit of editing and a little bit of
editing and a little polish, yeah. Just to hone it in. So, but it's basically it's the same story. Yeah. But there's Dana, you'll have to come up here sometime. There's an archaeological museum. There's a town, and I mean it doesn't go back as far as Old Testament per se, but it does. It's a Native American place where it's got like a whole village that's there unearthing stuff. So that really, I remember sitting there like in the shade of one of these little houses and working on it.
Nice.
Yeah, so it was really good to, again, like the arc, just like clear away all the distractions. And this suddenly is, you can picture it now. So yeah, that was a lot of fun to look into for Shira. And then she's also a little known lady too. According to my research, she is Joseph's granddaughter. Joseph, the many-colored coat. And she just has one verse in First Chronicles, and then her family has 5 verses about them. So, it's fun to develop that. So that was a lot of fun. So I'm glad that's up. I'm thankful. It's been a long time because with Vacation Bible School and all the other things happening outside of writing, I've and then I'd sit down and work on the formatting and I'd get frustrated and then I can't get anywhere. But I think I've got a system now. So I hope. So we shall see on that. But good. Well, we're excited to have Lisa with us to talk about her writing process, her characters, and all the fun things with her little known girls. And let's get right into that. So Lisa Larsen Hill is a biblical storyteller, speaker, and president of the Network of Biblical Storytellers International. With more than 30 years of immersion in scripture and decades of corporate leadership experience, she brings historical depth and spiritual insight to her fiction. Lisa is also the founder of Seeds of Faith for Women, Inc., and co-founder of Daughters of Abraham. She lives in New York with her husband. Do you want to read the book blurb, Dana, or you want me to?
Yes, I do. I will read that. And also, I'll just mention, check out Lisa's website at lisalarsenhill.com. It's a fantastic website with, I was just telling her, lots of wonderful resources for readers. And so you're going to want to take a look at that. Daughters of the Wilderness, 5 sisters, 1 bold request, and a God who listens. As Israel prepares to enter God's promised land, 5 sisters face an uncertain path as their hope for marriage begins to unravel. Zelophehad, their devoted father who taught his daughters to trust God, longs to see them settled and secure, even as he hides how little time remains. But Noah sensed that And a bitter uncle is determined to arrange marriages that would scatter the sisters among different tribes, severing their bond. Noah, strong-willed and burdened by a mistake she cannot undo, is determined to honor her father's charge to protect her sisters. But in a culture where women have little voice, every option leads to loss. As pressure mounts, Noah is drawn toward an unthinkable step, one that could change their lives forever. Torn between fear and faith, she must decide whether this step is from God or her desperate need to make things right. What begins as a fight for their future may shape far more than they ever imagined. Ooh.
That took a while to write. Oh.
It does sound great, and it is great, Demi. I know, I've read it. So,
thank you.
So tell us more about yourself, Lisa, where you live, how you spend your time when you're not writing, or a bit about your writing process. What are you, a fast writer? Tell us about you.
So first of all, I just want to say thank you. I think this is such a great resource for bringing readers and authors together, and I really thank you for this opportunity as a debut author. So just thank you. I'm so thrilled to be here.
Glad to have you.
Thank you. I live on Long Island. I live about a block away from the water with my husband of 29 years, and he's my best friend. And we love to travel. When I'm not doing all the other stuff that you talked about, I put myself through school, and I did a semester abroad in Amsterdam and London. And I think that taught me so much. I learned about the history, the culture, the architecture, and my husband and I have been blessed to go to 7 continents and to see God's creativity around the world and what he has created. I mean, it is awesome. It just reminds me of the beginning, right? In the beginning, God created, and very grateful for that. One of the trips we went to actually was to Egypt, Israel, and Jordan, and that was like in the beginning of when I was doing the book, and that certainly helped with the descriptions and the pictures that we took. So I really use that in my process. And I have a writing process. I stand at my computer. My husband started doing this when we retired, and I said, yeah, this is a good idea. So he built me a little stand, and I have a second, screen. So I really like to stand while I'm working. I sit once in a while, but I usually stand. And I have to have quiet. Like, I know that there are other people who have music that goes on, but for me, I just have to have, I get wrapped up into the computer. My husband would say, when people would say, how's Lisa doing? He would say, this is what she looks like. And God bless him, thank him, because if he didn't call me down for meals, I would be emaciated, which wouldn't be so bad right now, but he has really been a huge support. And I would have to say about the writing process, a critique group is so important for your first readers. I went to a lot of conferences, Renew Writer and Speakers Retreat, which I'm going to be speaking at later on this year, so that's exciting. ACFW, Blue Ridge Christian Writers Conference. And during COVID, I went to a bunch of other ones because you could. And so that really helped to do that. And another thing, I'm a very visual person, and another thing I use is a vision board. And at Blue Ridge, I don't know if you can see this, at Blue Ridge, you were able to wear a costume about what you were working on. And I took what my vision board is and I put it on, and I wore this as a dress. Which everybody thought, oh, that's kind of cool, because it's lined paper, and that was my work in progress. So, but a vision board is really, I think that really helps me to see what was going on. So that's kind of a little bit about my process.
That's wonderful. Well, I was going to ask you if you'd traveled to the Holy Land because I felt like it was apparent that you must have when I
Yeah.
was reading the book. So that's cool to hear about. Um, Also, you received a stellar endorsement from Publishers Weekly bestseller and one of our favorite authors, Tessa Afshar, who wrote a promising debut from first-time author Lisa Larsen Hill. Daughters of the Wilderness brings the story of Zelophehad's daughters to life in a fresh and engaging way. And then she goes on to say how those women inspired her. And can you tell us a little about why you chose this particular Bible story for your debut novel and any special challenges you had researching and writing the novel?
So this is a little bit of a journey story. So I learned the story, it's got to be now 35 years ago, and it was at the Network of Biblical Storytellers. And this organization, international, and this organization is where we learn the story, what the Hebrew, what the context was, and then we memorize it by heart. We learn it by heart, and then we tell the story. And when you tell the story, it really comes to life. So I worked in corporate America and was climbing up the corporate ladder. And many times I was going into a room where I was one of two women that would be in a room full of men. And I would say to myself, the daughters of Zelophehad came forward. And it just gave me this courage and this feeling that I deserve a place at this table. And then I retired, and I didn't know about biblical fiction. And then one book literally changed my life, and that is Pearl in the Sand by Tessa Afshar. And I fell in love with the book, didn't realize that this was a thing, and I created a nonprofit called Seeds of Faith for Women. And at my first conference, I invited Tessa to speak. And I told the story by telling the story and what it meant to me. And Tessa walked up to me and said, "You have to write this story." And I just laughed. I said, "Tessa, you're the author. You write it." She said, "No, you have to write this story." And that became the impetus and the reason why I wrote it. And I followed her to her first writers' conference, well, not her first, my first conference, writers' conference, and that was Renew. And then, the journey continued. So when I got her, so she and I have been in contact, over the years, because she knew she, had challenged me to do that, and I've seen her at conferences. And to get her endorsement, you have no idea what that meant for me. That was like my mentor, you're talking about, my hero. And so it meant a tremendous amount to me for her to do that. I did have a very large challenge. Last year, I was finishing I went to Blue Ridge Christian Writers Conference, and I have to admit, I spent some time on my book rather than going to classes, and I was this close to finishing these reviews that I had done by an outside, by a tremendously great development edit. And I was just almost done. I got home on a Friday, and my husband tells me that he was told by his doctor that he had to have an angiogram on Monday. And he has no high blood pressure, no high cholesterol. He passed his stress test. And I'm like, I don't understand what we're doing, but okay, we're going to go. So I brought my computer because I didn't know how long it was going to be. And I was working on my last edits. And the doctor comes out and tells me that they had to put 2 stents in my husband because he had a 95% blockage in what is called the widowmaker artery. And I started to cry, and I was just so grateful that my husband was fine, but I also was just, I was so upset, and I was just so grateful. the next day, I found out that I had placed a 4-page document that I was going to put into my manuscript, and I erased all of my edits. So I had to go back 3 months before, and it was so on my knees grateful. I would do it 100 times again if it helped my husband, but I was so mad at myself, and I said, God, I don't know, I'm kind of had it. And then God kind of said, do you know how many doors I've opened for you? you know, as a first time author. And I had started writing down what I had called God moments, but somebody had just called it to me God incidences. Something that's too much of it's not a coincidence, right? And I started thinking about that, and I went back and I redid the story. So
Right.
yeah, so yeah,
And it probably was better for it. I think anytime I've run into those things and had to redo something, it was better. So I
well,
bet.
yes. And actually, I had to refresh myself to remind myself about Zelophehad, and did a little bit more research. And I found out my story, I had written that he had 2 brothers, and I found out he was an only child. He had 12 cousins, but to make the story readable, I've only talk about 2 cousins. Um, and so it was kind of like God saying, this is the story. This is my story, and I want you to get it right.
Yeah.
This is not your time. It's my time. And so I said, okay, I get it. I get it. I really, so it was a lesson in trusting, God with just the outcome, no matter how much we fail.
Right. That's so true. And I think, another thing I saw that was a real blessing. You mentioned this, I think, at the end, that Tessa spoke to you about all the points of view and gently tried to direct you to and I
Oh,
like, yeah, I bet
yes,
she did. Because there was a lot of characters, and
yes,
and I'm like, it would have been tempting to write from the
yes.
points of view of at least maybe the 5 girls. I don't know what you had originally, but you did a great job,
Thank you.
tightening it up a little bit. But I'm sure that was a little bit of a, huh, it's good this way moment, because
Well,
I
as,
remember those kinds of moments myself where it's like I tried something, and it's outside of the realm of the reader being able to follow along with it, but the writer thinks it's a lot of fun.
well, so what happened was I had a one-on-one with her at a
Hmm.
conference, and she had asked me, tell me who's your point of view. And I had just finished reading Francine Rivers' Mark of the Lion.
Uh-huh.
Amazing books. And
Yeah.
she had like 15 to 20 points of view. So I
Yeah.
answered,
Francine can do it. Why can't I?
exactly. So I told her I had 13. And so you've had Tessa on your podcast, and that
Yeah.
that lovely lyrical laugh, right? And she said, "Oh, sweetheart, oh, darling, you can't have 13 points of view." And I said, "Well, Francine Rivers did." And she goes, "Yes, and she's Francine Rivers." So I had had 100 pages by then, and I had to go back and decide on who my points of view were going to be.
Yeah. Cute.
It's fun.
Oh, let's see. Now you made me lose my place. Let's see.
Well,
Um,
we just loved your portrayal of Zelophehad. Like, I mean,
yeah.
I think it's easy to see you're the generation that's not going to make it to the promised land. So obviously, you're bitter and a horrible person. But I really love how you had his character arc. I mean, that's in the Bible. He doesn't make it. This is why the girls are there. So I don't think that's a spoiler. But just to have him to love the Lord so much and to instill that in the girls. Like, I really loved how that. Can you talk about? Did you have any influence creating this character, or is he just living in your brain, or how did you come up with his depth and his passion?
Yeah. So the model for Zelophehad is my mother.
Mm.
Mm.
She had an incredibly deep faith, and she had a very tough life. Grew up during the Depression, and a lot of things happened. She lost a sister, her first child, a divorce. There's just many, many things that happened to my mother. And so she didn't just teach me in words, but she taught me in her actions about how to get up from defeat, and not only get up from defeat, but to love life and love God. And I dedicated the book to her in her memory. And as a surprise, I also dedicated it to my husband. But the reason I wanted Zelophehad to be this loving father is because of the daughter's actions. They do something in his name, do something for him. So if they didn't love him and they didn't believe in God, why would they go forward with the actions that they do? So I felt very strongly that Zelophehad had to have the arc of being, a provider, a love of God. Now he has some faults, and the daughters, have to deal with that. We're all not perfect. And they have to deal with something that he does. And are they going to recognize what that was? Is it, are they going to blemish his, whole life? And so they have to deal with something. And that happens to all of us. Everybody that we love people, and then when they disappoint us, what do we do? Do we forgive them? And what does that look like? So that was part of the story.
That is a big part of life, isn't it? Loving and then forgiving, because we all are disappointed at one time or another by our loved ones. We have to get past that.
Yeah.
Without spoilers, can you talk a little about Noah, her qualities, and the important themes she portrays throughout the story?
So, Noah is the protagonist, and she's one of these kind of people that acts first and thinks later, and that kind of gets her in trouble. She's very strong-willed, and she struggles with, is she doing God's will, or is she doing her will, and then going to God saying, you wanted me to do this, right?
Right.
And so but the great thing for in her arc is she keeps on talking to God, and she brings struggles to him for that. But one of the other things that happened as I was writing this, and I don't know if this happens to other authors, I don't know if this happens to you, my characters came to me at night. and I does that happen to you?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, so I would try to remember. I would say, okay, I'm going to remember this in the morning, and I never did. So then I realized I had to get up, like Samuel, and I had to get up and write, and then I couldn't read my writing, and then I started ending up. Well, terrible, right? Then I started using my phone and recording on my phone because what they said at night was great, but there was once in a while I would just say, guys, I just want to have a good night's sleep. Can we just talk about this tomorrow?
Did your husband ever say, who are you talking to on the
phone? Exactly. No, he actually is a pretty good sound sleeper, which is really nice.
So a couple of your characters feel crippling shame for their past, for something in their past, which I'm sure is a universal regret. But you showed growing through, and then even still, when you realize that you need to be free of this, you kind of hang on to it, like we all do. Like how did you have? How did you work? Was that a personal work through on your end, or is that something that you just through your knowledge and your wisdom of life and stuff that you observed that, or how did that work through with the growth process of everyone?
I think everyone can relate to making mistakes, regrets, words we didn't wish we could take back that we didn't say. So I think it is a universal feeling. We're not perfect. So, but Noah in particular, she believes that she has to make up for her mistake and she can't undo what happened. So, the book explores in several different ways, whether we are defined by our failures, or whether God can still work through us despite them. And the story asks, do we earn redemption, or do we receive redemption? And I think sometimes, honestly, the hardest journey is probably learning to forgive yourself. I think some wounds just won't get healed unless we stop hiding them from God and say, I'm broken and I don't know how to go forward, and please help me. And I think that's when God comes the closest to us, because he wants that relationship. He knows we need him. So I would say yes, personally, of course, yeah, I've made mistakes and things I wish I had done. So I think that was an easy thing to be able to write about, but also the redemption of it. Yeah.
I love that.
Maybe we're getting a little bit asking the same question over and over, and I don't want to do that, but it looks like we're kind of getting on a roll here. Other than Numbers 27, what Bible verses or passages did you have in mind as you developed your characters and storyline? For example, several times you used the words look up and you will know, and you also touched on themes of gossip and betrayal. So,
Yeah, so again, this was my inspiration from my mother. She always quoted Matthew 6. And when my brother and I would go out of the door, she would say, whenever we were upset or something was going on, she would say, remember the lilies. And, that chapter starts with, look at the birds of the air, they neither sow nor reap, and about the lilies of the field, they neither toil nor spin, yet Solomon was never dressed as fine as these. And so it was a nod to my mother about that. She also would say, it adds metal to the alloy. And when I was a teenager, I'd be like, okay, I have enough metal, Mom. I really, I don't need any more. But I would say that the look up came, inspiration from her. And I do, I personally, yeah, my mom was the wind beneath my wings, really.
Yeah.
And as far as the gossip and betrayal is concerned, I really realized a rumor could spread through that camp as quickly as it spreads through social media today. Several of the characters experience the pain, of being judged or betrayed by people that they love and trusted. And unfortunately, we see this in social media. It's a real issue today. And I wanted to show that words and actions can damage and can cause real pain, and James 3 is a great resource for this. I'm a sailor, so the idea of a tiller moving a boat reminds me that our tongues are very powerful, and they can cause deep wounds, but they also can be words of healing. So it was really kind of to deal with, there's a scene in there about mean girls. Well, there were mean girls back there at 3,500 years ago, and there's mean girls now, and how do we deal, right? And how do we deal with that? And and there's consequences, whether we deal with that well or we don't deal with it well.
Yeah. Really. So can you go into a little bit about the relationship with the cousins, with Uncle? I mean, they basically were viewed as uncles, Uncle Abel and Emmett.
Right. So what's really fascinating, one of the things that I used was the Hebrew names and the translation of them. And I put that in the front of my book, and I've had several readers tell me that they really appreciated it. And the Hebrew names helped me to create the characters and their personalities. They have the relationship with Emmett one of the things I happened here in my hometown is the local rabbi, was having a class, a seminar on forgotten women of the Torah. And I went to this thinking this is so great. And I met him and I asked him if he would meet with me about, what I was doing. And he said yes. And so the first thing he asked was, when he came, I had given him the book. He said, the outline of it. He said, you've named one of the characters Emmett. Do you know what the name Emmett means? And I said, yes. It kind of felt like I was a test. And I said, truth. And he said, well, is your character Truth? And so he explained to me, I don't know if you can see this well, but the first letter of the alphabet is, this is the name of Emmett. It's 3 letters. And it's the first letter of the alphabet. The middle is the middle of the alphabet, and the last letter of the alphabet. And so what he explained to me was that truth, Emmett, means looking at the left, looking at the right, and coming together to understand what it means. I put this on Facebook. I had 330 people respond to it. So obviously it was people who knew Hebrew, and that people commented, we need truth today. So part of my research helped me to really understand what my characters were. And in fact, in acquiescence to the rabbi, in one of the last chapters, there is a comment that Emmett's wife says, you have to live up to your name, Truth. And then the truth comes out. Because in the beginning, he is all on one side and he is seeing his truth and he's not seeing another truth. And then he finally comes to it and he apologizes. So it's that really was a huge arc to describe and what he was about. And then Abel is, kind of the antithesis of that. He is this like a brother to Zelophehad, and it's a dynamic between the 3 men and what happens with them also.
Interesting. Well, is there any one thing that you would hope that readers would take away from reading The Daughters of Zelophehad?
I absolutely. I would definitely say that it was about joy, and what I would say it was about faith, courage, and trust. And it's about having a personal relationship with God. And he might not answer you the way you want. He might not answer you in the time you want. But it's about having the faith. And then if you understand what that new path should be, or the indication, and discerning that, to have the courage and the trust that God goes before us. So I had a banner verse over writing this, and it was, lean not on your own understanding, and always acknowledge, submit to him, and he will make your path straight. And that to me was what was going on here: faith, courage, trust. Because, in the end, the daughters, because of that, they changed the course of history for women. It's this amazing little story that really people don't really know about. And I think that's an important thing to know, that I think sometimes the Old Testament, we think of God as being, pretty strong and maybe not as supportive of women. And this really talks about that in a very big way and very personal way.
Right. That's been something my husband and I have discussed recently, because there was a couple little things that came out, just like you said, where you got the feeling that there were some people in a group who sort of felt women should be relegated to a certain place.
Right.
And I just said, you need to remember all of the women, single women, who traveled with Jesus and his disciples and ministered to him. And you need to think about the daughters of Zelophehad that took their place. And you need to think about Esther, the queen. And, you know, and there's just so many examples.
Yes.
There's so many examples. And women, yes, are to be subject to their own husbands, but they're not to be subject to all the other husbands in the church. And
Right.
you know, it's just an interesting dynamic that we have in this world where I have no idea to be an emancipated woman. I have no desire for that, but I do want people to understand God honors women in His Word, and so yeah, that your story is important, I think.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, apart from journeying to the Holy Land, what other resources did you have to give such color and description to your foods and plants and weather? And
I have a ton of books. Food of the time of the Bible, from Adam's apple to the Last Supper, living and dying in ancient times, death, burial, and mourning in biblical tradition. I mean, I have a whole library of books, and I like going to the library. I did go to the library, but I love having books. So I would say that the research took quite a bit of time, and in biblical fiction, you really need to know what you're doing because people know the Bible. And so you want to make sure that you are consistent. And in fact, when Tessa was endorsing my book, she sent me a text that said, "Is there any chance that we can make a little edit?" And I thought to myself, what am I doing? I just asked the mentor, the icon of biblical fiction. She's written 16 biblical novels. And she said to me, in the beginning, there is a scene that is celebrating the young daughter coming of age, right? Of her womanhood. And she said, you didn't say that she was coming from the woman's tent, which would mean she's unclean. So I said, oh, that's easy for me to fix because Noah was saying this day had to be perfect. And we can celebrate her coming from the woman's tent. So it was little things like that. You need to be so careful because you want to honor the history, and you want it to be as historically correct as possible. I'd also have to say that there's an earthquake in the book, and I was in the 1989 earthquake in San Francisco when the Oakland Bay Bridge went down, and I was supposed to be on that bridge at that time, but my boss kept me late, and I was so thankful for that. So I think it's a combination of being a bookworm and curiosity, and then experience. I would say that that's kind of all that.
And it's cool that somebody else kind of caught that little thing, because you're bound to miss things no matter what, because we don't live in that culture, live and breathe in it. And so that's cool. Is there a question that we didn't ask that you'd like to answer?
Well, I had somebody ask this before they read it, and it was, why does a story that happened 3,500 years ago still matter today? And, I think, the answer is we all are facing challenges at some point. And these sisters did not have a clear path in front of them, and they had to decide whether they were going to be quiet and remain silent, or were they going to take this big, brave step forward in faith. And so we're all facing, is it a career change, a family crisis, a difficult diagnosis? My husband had survived bladder cancer, but this morning he went to his doctors and they want to have a CT scan because they found some red area. And so, do we know what the outcome can be? Can I tell you right now, I'm not worried. Remember the lilies, Mom? But we can, right now I've got to look at what I've just written and say, I'm inviting God into the situation and knowing He's going before us. And worrying, part of Matthew 6 is not going to add a cubit of measurement of life to you. So I think that's why this story has stuck with me for so long, is that it's about ordinary people taking making an extraordinary difference when they trust God. And for the daughters, they changed the course of history for them. So, yeah.
That's the best answer to that non-question I think we've ever had. Good job.
Oh, thank you.
Well, would you like to read something from your book?
We talked about look up, and I wrestled whether to do with the start of the book. Somebody had put on best first liners, and they used mine, which was really nice. I love that. But I think I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Zelophehad. So he has taken them outside of the tents, and he has something he wants to talk to them about. He knows his time is limited, and he wants to continue to give them lessons. Here we are. He waved to a large plush rug the Egyptian chief had insisted he take when the Israelites fled. Earlier, Noah had assisted her father in setting up 2 stools, a pitcher of water, and 6 cups. The daughters spread out on the extravagant rug, exclaiming among themselves. Mala maneuvered onto one of the wooden stools and her father onto the other. Daughters, I want you to look up. He gazed at the broad expanse of stars, the half moon giving an extra glow that surrounded them. The tall pillar of fire that burned so bright from our tabernacle is where God deems to live among us, giving us light so we can find our way. And he also graces us with these jewels. The stillness swaddled them in a blanket, smothered the din from the camp, leaving a quiet solitude. He extended his long, powerful arms and pointed to the heavens. Your grandmother declared these stars display God's love pouring out to us. They will remind you how God watches over you even when I'm not around. My daughters, sometimes we need to contemplate why we're living, why we should give thanks to our Lord. Remember, look up and you will know. Whatever you're feeling, be it happy, confused, or frustrated, especially with each other, Abba peered at Noah and Milcah, you can look up, day or night. When I do, it calms my soul. I experience God's creation, which changes my feelings to gratitude and hope. It's a lesson I'm grateful for. I ferried you out here to remind you of this.
I love
It's
that.
a very sweet moment. Yeah, really nice.
I love that.
Well,
done.
something
Where
we
is
can
it
all
that-
hold in our heart.
Yeah. Where is it that people can find you?
Oh, so on my Facebook page or on my website, obviously, but Facebook, I'm mostly on Facebook and Instagram. I'm on X, but I have to admit that I'm mostly on Facebook and Instagram.
Okay. And I am putting up your website again. I'm sure you can find the Facebook and Instagram on her website as well. Dana said there's a lot to look at and there's tons to glean on the website. So make sure you're following Lisa and so be in touch. Is there a book 2 coming, or is there another one in the works?
So I think this whole thing about heritage, I have a niece and my brother had her late in life, and there's no other family. It's me and my brother. Everybody, they either have passed away, etc. So I want her to know about her grandmother, her Grammy. And so I'm going to write a book. It's a little bit different. I'll get back to biblical, but it's going to be called Memories of Marjorie, Mom. Memories of Marjorie. And it's the lessons my mom taught me and as part of me. So I want her to know her heritage.
That's great.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Very nice.
So, okay. So if you're just tuning in or if you're watching on the live, we are going to leave these comments open through the weekend. So make sure you're getting in here. There is giveaways, 2 giveaways. If you comment, that does enter you in for a chance to win one of these paperbacks. It is for U.S. addresses only. I'm terribly sorry about that, but shipping is not very friendly overseas. So, you know what? I'm just gonna. They're just done. So make sure you're commenting, and if you've enjoyed this, if you tell us if you've even heard of Zelophehad and his 5 daughters. I listed their names up in the chat, but they're kind of tucked away in there, so it's a hidden gem for sure. So for our game, what we're going to do is, in honor of the 5 sisters, we're going to do some Bible trivia. That is sibling Bible trivia.
Love it.
So what I'm going to do is I will post it. It is all multiple choice. Every time you comment, again, is another entry into winning that one of those books. So make sure you're commenting if you're watching the replay, and just say hi, and that will count. So anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to post the question and the multiple choice, and Dana and Lisa will say out their answers, what they think it is, and you're welcome to comment in the comments and let us know what answer you think is correct. So let me pull up our first one. And this one I found from funtrivia.com. Shout out to them. All right, here we go. According to Genesis, the world's first murder involved a brother killing another brother, with Cain killing Abel. What statement did Cain make in the NIV Bible that's still used in everyday conversation? The early bird gets the worm. Am I my brother's keeper? Early to bed, early to oh my goodness. Early to bed, early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise.
Oh, that's funny. Oh, I love the choices. I think I'm going to have to go for "Am I my brother's keeper?"
I will go with that too.
Well, you are all correct.
All right. Woo!
No shocker. There's actually one I didn't actually get to copy over, and it was "Walk softly and carry a big stick," but I don't think that's okay. All right. This one looks like a little bit better format here somehow. I don't know why, but all right. The plight of Joseph, who was sold into slavery by his 11 brothers, is one of the best known stories of the Old Testament. According to Genesis 37, the brothers originally plotted to kill him. One brother, however, persuaded the others not to kill him and actually came up with a plan to save him. What was the name of that brother? Is it Reuben, Asher, Benjamin, or Simeon? What were you going to say, Lisa?
So I think it was Reuben.
Dana, what's your vote?
Oh, I have to go with Reuben.
And Demi says Reuben too. I believe that sounds good. You know what? I didn't even think where the
I would have liked to make up something.
I actually
funny,
thought it was Judah. Was it? I have to look that up.
I think it is Reuben, because he had just been.
Judah was good later. Yeah, Judah was good later in the story.
Yeah, I think it was Reuben, because he's trying to get back in Dad's good graces, because he had just been nasty and horrible, and slept with the concubine. I don't remember, Billa maybe. Anyway,
got it.
The Bible is not PG-13 in all areas. I'm just gonna say that.
Mm-hmm.
This is how we know that the Bible's true, because nobody hides their sins.
Right.
That's true.
Comes right out and tells us.
Judah comes to the save later. Yes. All right. What are the names of the first twins reported in Scripture? We've got Cain and Abel, Esau and Jacob, Joseph and Benjamin, David and Jonathan.
The first twins.
First twins.
I think Esau and Jacob. Although I wonder if it could have been Cain and Abel, and we just don't know.
It's
I
true.
think it's Esau and Jacob. Yeah.
You guys are, it's like you're biblical scholars and writers here.
Wow.
Look at all three of you. You guys are being brilliant. Rachel and Leah are perhaps the best known sisters in the Old Testament. They were both married to Jacob, but Rachel was jealous of Leah. Do you know why? Because Jacob loved Leah more and often ignored Rachel, because Leah was known far and wide for her lovely singing voice, because Leah was more beautiful than Rachel, because Leah bore children for Jacob and Rachel was seemingly barren.
Yep.
All of the above. Ideas.
Yeah, right. Could possibly be all of the above.
I'm just waiting for those people out in television land to write their answers.
Tammy says
There you
that Jacob
go.
loves Rachel, but that doesn't say why Rachel was jealous.
Yeah, I think she was jealous because the number one thing was having sons. I mean, the status of a woman was about, being married and having sons.
That's right.
That's part of the whole, Zelophehad, right? So, yeah, so I would say that would be my final answer.
Fun answer.
You've been watching game shows.
Right.
Okay.
All right. Moses and Aaron formed one of the most dynamic brother acts in the Old Testament, as we see them highlighted in Daughters of the Wilderness. True or false? Aaron was the oldest.
No, false. He was not the oldest. Oh, it is true?
No?
So this is
true.
that's Demi. Demi's saying true.
Yeah.
And Dana says true.
Yeah.
He's older than Moses. I don't know if it says he's older than Miriam or not, but he is older than Moses.
Okay.
I think he's the oldest and then Miriam, but maybe we'll.
Yeah, I don't know whether Miriam was older or not older. I don't know.
So that's a good thing to research. We will find
Yeah.
out. Yeah.
She was definitely responsible. She was the one who watched little Moses.
Yeah.
Miriam
was the oldest.
So I just looked it up. Miriam was the oldest.
Okay. So Aaron would have been born before the call to eliminate all the Hebrew baby boys.
Right.
So no, Moses was a new addition to that rule.
Right.
So, what character? Oh, let me actually get this in here. I'm going to read it off the other screen. Yeah, it's fine. You guys don't need to read it. What character in the Old Testament was hopelessly in love with his half-sister Tamar? David, Amnon, Absalom, or Seth?
Oh, okay.
We just read that. It's Amnon. He was horrible.
Amnon, and then Absalom was the one who, I think defended.
He was also horrible.
Right. Yes. Amnon,
that's correct. Absalom was full brother and was, at least in the story we read, was meant to be defending the sister, but
right. Yeah.
Kind of had his own political agenda.
Exactly.
All right, here we go. This is the first time I'm reading some of these, so it's kind of funny. Two of the best-known brothers in the New Testament are the disciples Peter and Andrew. Peter is impulsive and extroverted. Andrew is strong, silent type. I suppose if Peter was a high-class restaurant in Paris, Andrew would be a fast food diner in Saskatchewan.
All right.
Okay. One of the few things the brothers had in common was they at least came from the same town. Oh, interesting. Brothers coming from the same town. Who knew? What's the name of the town? Joppa, Capernaum, Bethsaida, or Jericho?
Ooh. Mm.
I don't know for sure on that one. I have a guess. And I'm going to guess Capernaum.
That's what I would have guessed. Yes.
Yeah, thank you to the chosen for for
That's where
Right.
there was a whole lot of the ministry going on with Jesus. So,
Yeah.
Right.
but they could have been from somewhere else and moved there. I don't know.
That's true, but what they're documented is being in Capernaum. All right. Good point. All right, here we go. Staying in Capernaum, James and John are another well-known brother act in the New Testament. According to Matthew 4, their father was with them when Jesus called them to be disciples. What was his name? Zebedee, Zechariah, Joseph, or Andronicus?
Zebedee Doodah. When my husband, I was teaching him, the biblical storytelling, and he came to the Zebedee. He said, "Okay, I'm going to say Zebedee Doodah," and I said, "No, you're not going to say that."
Well, it's stuck.
I love it. I never thought of that on my own. That's pretty good. Oh, funny.
All right, here we go. True or false? You guys are so good. True or false? Here we go. The best known sisters in the New Testament are Mary and Martha. They lived in Bethany with their brother Lazarus, who was raised from the dead in John 11. True or false? Mary was known for being busy even when Jesus was in the midst of his was in their midst teaching. True or false?
False. Because Martha
It's
is the
false.
one who is busy.
Right.
That
I just like to know what the disciples and Jesus would have all done if Martha would have just thrown off her apron and just gone and sat down and said, "Get your own dinner."
That's right. Yeah, it's hard. Like we went through having a Martha heart in a Mary world. No, having a Mary heart in a Martha world, and then of course we read Up from Dust. Did we interview Heather on that one, or was that? I guess it was the whole series.
Yeah.
Up from Dust, but
Yeah.
that is hard because
Yeah.
God has definitely created some as worker bees, and is not condemning that, but. Yeah, it gives a lot of pause for sure. Get your own food. Well, Jesus could have made it. I mean, we've already done the feeding of the 4,000.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
All right. Which of the 12 disciples is believed to have a twin brother? Bartholomew, Thomas, Matthew, or Judas Iscariot?
Huh.
I think it was Thomas, but I'm not sure. It was somebody. I thought it was somebody called Didymus, and that meant the twin.
Right.
I don't know.
Right. I think you're right.
Yeah, I think some translations will say Thomas called Didymus, or
And I just learned that the reason for that was because Thomas looked like Jesus. And that I was just talking to Linda Denzans, and she's a great author, and she's writing about Jesus right now in her 2 novels. And she was saying that some people have interpreted that as that they looked alike, and that's
interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, that is interesting.
So then he didn't actually have a twin. They were just calling him the twin of Jesus.
And then when Jesus is in the garden, which one of you is Jesus? Because you look like the other dude.
It's just interesting thought.
It is interesting.
Yeah.
All right, so I submitted it, and they say Bethsaida was the correct answer for Peter and Andrew. So that is John 1:44.
Ah, okay. All right.
But everything else we got correct. So
yay!
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm trying to see where my closest Bible is here. Let's double check. Let's fact check that.
Yeah.
John 1:44. You hear that?
Yes, definitely.
Now Philip was from Bethsaida of the city of Andrew and Peter.
There you have it. There you
So
have
they
it.
must have started in Bethsaida and ended up in Capernaum. Oh, okay.
Peer pressure, Demi.
Here,
Oh no.
what have we done?
Right? Yes.
Well, you know
We
what?
did. We had wrong answers.
In On Living Stone, I know they moved. They moved from somewhere, but I did not remember it being Bethsaida. Very cool. Very cool. Well, that's all we have for today. If you're just tuning in, make sure to comment to be entered in to win one of the 2 paperbacks. It's the Daughters of the Wilderness. It's a fantastic read. I think you're going to really enjoy it and be challenged by it. The comments will be open through the weekend. Make sure you're hopping on, and go ahead and go over to Lisa's website. Make sure you're following her there so you can keep up with her latest writing and all the fun things that she's got happening there.
And if you're just watching this on YouTube later, join us on.
You did.
Oh, that's
Oh dear.
that would be me, Debbie. That would be me. That would be me. Yeah. Thank you for being here.
If you're just joining us here on YouTube, then be sure and join us on Biblical Fiction Aficionados on Facebook. Our Facebook group is a lot of fun, and we do this kind of stuff all the time, all week long. So
yeah, and there's also a resource too if you're looking for a little, or you find a little known character or something that you're like, wow, I wish there was a book about. There's also a resource that I inherited called the Biblical Fiction Finder. It's over on my website, naomicraig.com, and you can search by author. So you can look up Tessa Afshar, or you can look up characters or eras of the Bible. So if there's somebody that you come across and like, what is the story behind this? Like, there's some weird stories in one verse in the Bible, and you're like, where's the rest? That might give a good head start on some of them, but if not, then you're going to have to write it, and we will talk to you about that one. So yeah, we're excited for this. Thank you so much for hanging out with us here, and we're just so blessed by Biblical Fiction Aficionados and the community there that all support each other, the readers, the authors, and love digging into God's Word and early church history with story. And we're so amazed to be a part of that great community, and so thankful for all of you.
Yes, very much.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Well, thanks, Lisa. Good luck and congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for this time. I really appreciate it.
And we will see you around online.
All right.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.